Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rumcast. That's right, this is the end of the year Rumcast episode. My name is John Gulla, and here in the virtual hosting booth with me this holiday season is the very festive Will Hookinga. And you are
have
listening...
a sweater on this time of year, man. Especially now, because the forecast is saying it's going to be 75 degrees on Christmas,
Yes.
which I'm really not okay with. So I'm trying to enjoy this, nice 50-degree weather while I still can.
It was so hot here, Will, recently. I was like, why do I live in a place where in Christmas season in December it is 90 degrees?
Gotta have the seasons.
But then I also remember when everybody else is complaining about the snow and it's like -1 degree, that I'm like, oh, it's 70 down here. It's fine.
That's
so,
nice.
Yeah. Anyhow, I was going to say, the tagline, of course, Will, you were listening to the podcast that talks all things rum related with the people who love and shape it. So, Will, in this episode, I guess it's much less about talking to people who are shaping rum and much more about what we think shaped rum in the year 2025.
The year.
Yeah.
Very nice. Nicely done.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorites. I always look forward to this. I've done a fair amount of prep, and I'm assuming you have. So it's now the fifth time we're doing this, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think this is the fifth, and we've got some changes I think we decided to make. I think we've made little adjustments here and there over the years, but maybe this is the biggest change we've made in a few years, which is taking out some categories and putting in some new categories. So in the past, we had I'll just go ahead. Let's just list out the categories, and then we can talk about what changed.
Okay.
So this episode is all about really what our favorite rums of the year were. And we have a variety of categories. We have 10 this year, and we have best value rum, best blend, best new to me rum, which is a rum that, didn't necessarily come out this year, but it's something that we just discovered for the first time for ourselves that other people have probably had. Unaged rum, aged rum, single cask, which is a new category, overall rum, so just our favorite overall of the year, and then bottler of the year, so like independent bottler that kind of stood out to us over 2025, and then distillery of the year, so the distillery counterpart to the bottler of the year category. But what we ended up shifting around, in the past, we had kind of like 4 unaged and aged categories, where we had an unaged molasses rum category, an unaged cane juice rum category, then an aged rum under 5 years and an aged rum over 5 years categories. It was kind of like the fantasy draft a little bit, is probably what maybe informed some of this, or maybe it was the other way around. But we decided to just consolidate to unaged and aged, no molasses or cane juice qualifiers, because I think, John, what we're trying to do at the end of the day is allow ourselves enough categories to where we can really highlight a lot of different types of rums, as opposed, so it doesn't just end up being like all cask strength, super expensive releases, basically.
Right.
However, after discussion, we both kind of felt like, we know each other's tastes and what we value enough to know that even if we get rid of like having cane juice specific and molasses specific and under 5 years and over 5 years, we feel we'll still end up with lists that are fairly representative of the many colors in the rum palette that are out there. So I'm excited to see what yours are. As always, we don't discuss our favorites in advance, and anything to add there?
Yeah, we talk about this every year, but just in case this is somebody's first year, when we say like best this rum or best this rum, this is really our favorites, right?
Yeah.
This is our subjective opinion on both things we tried this year, right? Because we can't try everything as much as we might want to. And it's just picking out what are our highlights that we found to be special this year and fitting them into those categories, like you said. And, I do think it's going to be interesting this year with the new single cask and blend categories, which we'll talk about more when we come up to them, about how we're thinking about those. But I think it's nice to have those, while at the same time, it does feel a little bit like a simplification overall, like just having unaged, just having aged, like we used to break it out into 5 years or less versus, and I know, like you said, why we're doing that, but it does feel more elegant this way. So looking forward to seeing if people have feedback on this structure.
Oh, also, I left out a critical category. I can't believe I left it out. One that we started doing a couple of years ago, which is our Am I the Asshole category.
Very important.
A very important tradition in which we discuss the rum that we don't necessarily think it's bad per se, but it's one that maybe seems like we should have liked it. It just didn't resonate for whatever reason. And we're basically asking, is something wrong with me for not liking this rum? Always a fun tradition. Sparks have flown from time to time historically there. Although we've also, last year we were aligned. And a lot of people told us that we were the assholes for putting the rum we did, which I believe was the first El Dorado High Ester blend last year. The LBI DHE.
Yeah. But the point of the category is, as you said, it's not to pick a rum that we know everybody wants to shit on, right?
No.
It's much more of a debate of like, okay, was this something that you heard other people that said they were liking, but you found that difficult, right?
Yeah.
That's where it is, I think. So, and speaking of that, before we get to this, and I know we're going to take a quick break and we'll come start doing all the categories, I did want to say that for this year, I think there was some really standout rums, and it almost felt this year to me like there were a little bit more obvious choices than in other years that I've done this. So I wanted to ask you, without revealing anything, did you kind of feel the same going into that?
You know, I'm not sure if the picks felt more or less obvious than previous years, because I'd have to go back and look. But I will say there were some that I just didn't really have to think about at all. Although I will say that because of the changes we made to our categories, I did have to think about, like, what's the most appropriate category for me to put this in, you know? But yeah, some of the answers were quite simple for me personally, and it'll be interesting to see if we agree on which ones were the easier choices or not.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I guess let's take our short break so we can get right back into it. Let the sparks fly.
All right, we're back, and we are going to get this thing started, John. And we're starting this year with a different category than we started with in the past. We're starting with best value rum. And I want us to talk really quickly about, how do you define a value rum? Like, what is it? As simple as just like price? Like, is that it?
I think that is probably the biggest factor, but it's not the only factor, and I think that's where you're going, right? So there could be a super great value rum that is $100 bottle, but that you feel like what it's bringing is bringing way more than what that $100 valuation is. So it's not like price in the sense of like, oh, this is so cheap I could buy it with, change from my couch, right? It's not that type of thing. It's much more of like, is the value of the rum exceeding the price you paid for it?
Yeah, it's not just cheap rum of the year, basically, is what I was trying to establish.
Right.
But affordability is definitely a big factor for me in this. I think when I'm looking at this category, the first thing I think about is, what were the more affordable rums I tried this year that were really good, as opposed to starting with like the $100 rums that just for $100 were still a great value. We are going to flip a coin to see who starts, and then I assume from this we'll alternate. So I've got a quarter here. It's actually a State of Alaska quarter.
Ooh, okay.
All right, here we go. Someone has to call it. I forgot about that very important part.
I was about to say, wait a minute.
So we've got heads on one side, and we've got Denali on the other side.
All right. Okay.
What do you want? Heads or Denali?
Ooh, Denali is pretty alluring there.
There is a ram, so there's still a tail on that side of the quarter.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right. I think I'm still going to just go with heads.
All right.
I think I lost last time with heads, but, I don't know.
I called tails
heads
last time, and I won the tails.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You're playing the odds here. All right, here we go.
Never tell me the odds.
It's tails.
Well, do you want to go first or last? It's your choice then.
I'll go first, actually.
Yeah. All right.
I'll step up and do it.
You know what? I got what I wanted then. Everybody's happy because I was hoping to go second. So, hey, great. All right, off to a good start.
My thinking behind going first is that if we have the same answer, I want to be the first one to say it. So.
Yep, I considered that for sure. But I also like to, sometimes I have two that are so close in my overall kind of ranking that I will consider switching to that one if you pick that one already in the same category. It's a little peek behind the curtain there, but
That's
I'm
what
not.
people come here for, is the people behind
Yes.
the curtain.
Yeah. I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not adjusting as we go here and to the point of like, oh, well, let me just plug this one in.
Right.
I have a few honorable mentions or runners up for each category, and some of these were so freaking close for me, some, not all, that I would consider switching if you pick it, because then I feel like it needs a little bit more boost.
All right. Well, without further ado, my pick for my favorite best value rum of the year is the Down Island Jamaica HD 2022 rum. So this was a release, as I just said, from Down Island, independent bottler out of Florida, Mike Streeter, the man behind that one. And as the HD in the name suggests, it is a Hampton rum. It is the HLCF mark, the same mark that is used for Rumfire.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know if it's 2 or 3 years old. It was distilled 2022, bottled 2025, and doesn't have an age statement. So
Right.
I'm assuming it's somewhere between 2 and 3 years old and not the full 3, but I don't know for sure. 62.5% ABV, distilled at Hampton, but then shipped to the U.S. and aged in ex-bourbon casks before being bottled in Florida, and $50 for 750 milliliters. So essentially, cask strength Rumfire, lightly aged for $50.
Yep.
And we did a bonus episode, I think, where you and I tasted this rum, and both of us were really struck by it. It was at once really familiar Hampton, but also just it was like, I didn't want to go as far as saying it was off profile necessarily, but it had some notes in it that I just hadn't encountered before. And looking at it again, I think that maybe just comes from the fact that it was aged, not at origin, but in the U.S. And I don't know, like, it's an ex-bourbon cask. I don't know what the cask was, but that could be where that slight difference comes in. It had this nice, like, florality to it in a way that even you enjoyed. And it was just, I was just like, for $50, this is just a great, great value. So it really stood out to me at the time. And as I was looking back at, all rums throughout the year, it just stood out the most to me. So that's my pick.
I think it's a great pick. We're starting off strong here, because I'm glad you picked it. I did not, just to be clear, I did not have this one in mind.
Even
better. But I think it is worthy of the pick for the value you said. I mean, it was kind of almost a given that it would be in the short list for me, but it didn't end up getting into my winner or runner-up. So just really quickly about that rum is I was also struck by its savoriness, which is something that I don't always get in that Hampton profile, but this one leaned into it in a way that I just loved as well. So I have to say, I think it's a great pick, and I also agree with it being such a super value. So kudos to Mike Streeter for that one. Really, really well done.
Yeah, I especially like seeing from independent bottlers, because independent bottlers are going to have the triple digit, over $100 long age stuff, but it's really nice when they also bring to the table something that is still high strength, very flavorful, but also such a more accessible price point. So I really like that. I'm really interested to see what your picks were, because I kind of thought that you might have this in your as one of your picks or as a runner up, as you were saying, but it sounds like as you said, it was neither. So hit me with it.
All right. So for my favorite value rum this year, you might be surprised by this, Will, because I don't think it came up so much in conversation for us, but I think you'll also understand why.
Okay.
Yeah. So my winner for favorite value rum is Banter rum.
Okay.
Banter actually has 2 bottles out. They have the white and the amber, and are both very, very good. I think if I had to give a slight edge here, it's tough, but I think I'm going to go with the amber. It's the 43% ABV, a little bit higher. It's a blend of Caribbean sources and pot and column. I think it's aged up to 4 years. I know the sources of the distilleries are being kept secret, so I'm not exactly sure where the sources are from, but I think for like $30 this bottle is. It's affordable, approachable, it's well made, and it's the kind of bottle that almost like restores my faith that these bottles can exist in this price range and be very good. So do I think this is like, an amazing sipping experience? No, maybe it's not that, but for me, it was either, so I'll give you my runner up here real quick, was also the Rum Traditionale from Holmes Key.
Yeah.
But another great bottle that's doing a lot of good things. And what I was feeling about this as I was kind of looking through is I do want some rums in this vein that I can use to mix and feel good about. And it's already started to have an impact, Will, this year on my like fledgling cocktail game.
Fledgling cocktail game.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is, I have a reputation, and I'm well-deserved, for being shit at making cocktails for the most part. But I've started to notice, like, okay, well, part of the challenge was I only had really mostly sipping rums that I was trying to use to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And I had never even considered that, like, well, there's rums that are better for that purpose. And once you start to lean into those a little bit more, I think it actually made me better at it somehow.
Use cheaper rums.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, like use high quality rums that are in that price range and made for that purpose. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, I really am enjoying this. So that was kind of a, pulled the wool over my eyes. Or wait, that's not the right.
Removed the wool from your eyes.
Removed the wool from my eyes is what I was looking for. A little bit with those. So I think, Banter really just won out slightly over the Rum Traditional because I don't make as many Mai Tais. But I do think both of these products were excellent, and I really am appreciative that they are in the U.S. market for the value that they are.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool to hear. So it's kind of funny because I actually still have not had a chance to try the official Banter rum releases yet.
That's hilarious.
But I've mentioned on the podcast before, I have done some advising with the people behind Banter, and so I tried a lot of the blends and blends that were not chosen for those rums months and months ago, like sampling them. And so like I have an idea of what they are, right? Because I tried the blends, but it's been so long that I it wasn't on my radar as much, and also just because I am involved in some way. It's not a rum that I would select, trying to separate church and state. I don't know if that's the right metaphor or not, but whatever, we'll roll with it. But yeah, I mean, just knowing the crew behind that and what they're going for, I'd say that's exactly what they're going for. So that's really exciting, and I'm really eager to actually get the official bottles and mix up a daiquiri myself and see how it goes.
Yeah, and I didn't mention Maggie Campbell's name partly because I know she's a friend of the show, and it is hard to separate when you have Maggie Campbell pouring a bottle for you. This was at Boston Rum Week, right? And that's where I got to try it there, and I got to try it one other place. I can't remember right now, but at home. But that first experience can sometimes really make or break something for you, I guess.
Yeah.
And Maggie is so good at what she does that I fully admit, I will admit that there is some impact there. But I was also trying to be as objective as I could be with it.
Yeah.
So, another honorable mention, really quick: the Mai Kai blend #1. Well, I don't think you've
I've not
had a chance
that one.
to try this. Yeah,
No.
that's a blend that's West Indies Rum Distillery in Long Pond. Pretty good. I think 50% ABV. It's a good product. Again, I think this is one that falls in that similar category, but I think this one was slightly more expensive than those. That said, I still think a very good value rum.
Yeah. Well, I will say one other rum that I considered, and we should mention, like, our goal with this is to highlight rums that were at least somewhat new in 2025, like in the previous year. It could be possible that something comes out in 2024, but like isn't available as much in the US until 2025. But we try to highlight stuff that like is from the last year with, a little wiggle room.
Right.
And a really great value rum that has been around for a couple years now, at least, but that I wasn't able to try until this year was Dourly's 14, which is probably why it's come up on the podcast throughout the year several times from me. It came up in the fantasy draft when you got it. So I didn't end up considering it eligible just because it's been around for a little while. But yeah, that was just the other thing that came to mind because I kind of just got access to it for the first time this year. And it is such an insane value for what it is. But yeah. Well, on the note, I just mentioned a rum that's new to me, although it is not my pick for new to me. Okay. But you are up first for our new to me category.
All right. This one was a standout easy one for me, actually.
Okay.
So when I thought back upon the whole year, there were some interesting ones that I think were new to me, but less so than other years. I don't know if that's just because, maybe we've been doing this for a few years now, running out of rums that might be new to us.
No, we'll never run out of those.
No, well, as was shown to me by my winner from this year, which this bottle's been around for quite a while, and this is the Velier Guyana Enmore 1995 Old Demerara rum.
Oh, yes, of course.
Which I was so fortunate to experience with John and Lori in Boston pretty recently. It's a 16-year coffee still, 61% foolproof ABV. I just simply put a revelation for me. It was so incredibly good, dense molasses character, the espresso, charred oak, like wooden still depth that you get from Guyana, but like just everything turned up to 11 in a way that I had yet to experience. And I was just like, oh shit, okay, got it. This is what people had really like keyed in on. And now, like I still love some of these Eldorado rums that are coming out and some of these other things. Obviously our Guyana VSG is very good as well. But man, this one, I tell you, it was just an incredible experience. The balance of age and power made it like such a true standout. And I'm sad that I will probably never be able to taste this rum ever again.
You're in mourning, it sounds like.
Yeah. But I would do it all again. And I would be in mourning again if I could. It was that good of a rum.
Don't be sad because it's over. Smile because it happened.
Exactly. Thank you for that platitude. We're giving out
bumper sticker wisdom on this episode of the Rumcast. So this is one of the dark bottle, simple label old Velier Demerara's, right?
Yes.
It's just like the letter, like the words, the year.
Words, big 1995 year on it.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly like super jealous that you got to try that because I have not had it yet. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit broad and untraditional because I'm not picking a single rum for this, but a type of rum from a certain distillery. And, well, I'll just go ahead and say it. It's rums from the Le Bourdonnais Distillery. And this is the closest I will come to trying to shill out our Rumcast Reserve rums. To be clear, I'm not picking one of our own rums as my favorite.
Yeah.
However, I tried a variety of rums from the Le Bourdonnais Distillery this year. This is a distillery in Mauritius that makes wonderful fresh cane juice rums in the kind of agricole style, column still. And we tried a number of these rums during our trip to Maine Rum Company and multiples that blew us away.
Yeah.
Like not just, oh, these are pretty good. Like, oh my God, these are amazing. I was also able to try some of Bristol Spirits, old Le Bourdonnais releases. They've done some unaged Le Bourdonnays. They've done an aged Le Bourdonnais. And all of them just really wowed me in different ways. The ones that we tried at Maine had some interesting cask selections. One was a Madeira cask. One was the wine malt, ex-English malt whiskey cask. And then you had kind of the more straightforward Bristol Spirits ones. But it's just one of those distilleries that we don't have a ton of access to here in the U.S. And so just getting to try it for the first time. And, it's a distillery that hasn't been around for hundreds of years or anything. They started in 2006. And just to see like the variety, the quality and everything, I just want to try more of their rums. And I had never had any of it before this year and got to experience quite a few and saw like a wide range of possibilities from that distillate. So I've been thinking about it all year and I would love to try more of their rums and see more of their rums in the U.S.
Yeah. It's a good pick and I get where you're going with that. And it's funny, if I were not a host of this podcast, if I were just a listener, I think I would have been saying to myself, what's the over-under on the category where the Rumcast Reserve rums first come up?
It only took two categories.
Took two for us. Two.
I'm not specifically recommending our own rum or selecting it.
Same.
I'm just selecting rums from this distillery that are wonderful and lovely.
Yeah.
And
well, I don't know if you can
no matter the brand or the bottler or whatever, if you see one, you should try it, is my point.
I gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was trying really hard not to, when I mentioned the Guyana VSG and talking about that, to not talk about it. And most likely this will be the only place where we do, I think, for my list. But yeah. So
well, just wait
clearly,
for my overall Rum of the Year award.
Oh!
I'm just kidding. I don't even know why I said
I
award.
would be
these
shocked.
these aren't awards. There's no medals. There's no double golds.
No
triple
cash
platinums.
prizes.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No one pays to enter for consideration.
Nope. No pat on the back even. Just
no,
just
that's
words.
Okay. All right. That's our
Honorable
new to me.
mentions. Do we have any for
Oh,
that
honorable
category?
mentions.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sure you have some.
Yeah, I just had a couple. The Jibay rum, I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It's J-B-A-E-Y, J-B-E-Y.
Yeah.
Jibay Cabo Verdean rum, 7-year that I got to try. Really nice, saline, a little bit funky, distinct. Kind of liked it a lot, and I'm hoping to find a bottle of that at some point in the future. And then an interesting one maybe also is I had not had any Indonesian rum that I could recall before. And so the Parhelia Spirits Indonesia release also is kind of, in a weird way, a new to me type of thing. Where I was like, okay, Indonesian rum I'm not familiar with in much the same way as you were saying about La Bourdonnais distillery. Just as a whole, because I don't think that distillery was disclosed either for the Indonesian rum from Parhelia. So those are my two interesting kind of new to me experiences, honorable mentions.
All right, unaged rum. I have a very interesting ride with what I ultimately selected for this category because there was a rum that had a ton. Let me also just say, this was maybe the category this year that I feel like had the single buzziest amount of releases. There were so many very hyped, much discussed unaged releases in the rum nerd community this year.
Yep.
And there was one that I would maybe say was the most hyped because it kind of came out of rum nerd enthusiasm that it was even created, which honestly could probably be said about a lot of these releases. But the first time I tried this rum, I told you, I was like, I kind of didn't get it. I didn't really love it. It felt weird and disjointed and just didn't come together for me.
Okay.
And I'd received a sample of it because I didn't buy a bottle of this. I got a sample from a Rumcast listener, actually. Shout out to our friend Lyle. And I was like, it really doesn't make sense that I don't like this rum. And it was an early contender for my Am I the Asshole rum because I was pretty sure that I was. But I came back to this sample multiple times. And it was like the second time I came back to it, it was night and day. I was like, I have no idea what happened to me the first time I tried this rum, but everything is clicking now. It's firing on all cylinders. I get it. I don't know if it was just like maybe sometimes when you first open a sample, maybe it needs to breathe or so. Like I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was just the day I was having. I'm not sure.
It happens.
But I'm talking about the Worthy Park 9th floor WPE cane juice unaged rum.
It's fucking great.
So this is Worthy Park's WPE cane juice mark. It's a 2 to 3 week extended fermentation, their highest ester mark, if that's important to you. And bottled at 54% ABV, which I kind of think was the perfect bottling strength for this rum.
Yeah.
I appreciated it not being bottled at hazmat levels. That's coming from someone who picked Cartier 30 last year, which is like 70% ABV. But I just felt like this rum being so intense and so high ester, being proofed to 54%, I think made it a lot more approachable. And it's really just, it's funny because the nose on this rum to me is so savory, like super briny, super like almost like salsa kind of.
Wow.
But on the palate, it's all sugarcane and like soft like melon and the kind of like rainwatery kind of notes that like petrichor kind of vibe.
Yep.
And it's so good. So if this were a rum that I was judging on the nose alone, I think it's a nose that would appeal to a lot of people. super intensely savory rums for me are a little bit like I got to be in the mood for it kind of thing. They're usually not going to be like, oh my God, this is my favorite thing in the world. But the palate of this rum, bringing in all that like fresh cane, the melon, and everything for me, it's just so good and it's super drinkable. It's not one of those high ester rums where it's like feels like tasting a science experiment.
Agreed.
It's so I ended up being really in the bag for this rum. Just like I think most of the people who tried it and reviewed it and things like that. So I saw the light, and it is my favorite unaged rum of the year.
Yeah. It's a really, really great pick. I bought a bottle of it as well because I really enjoyed it that much this year. And it's been one, like you said, that I've been able to kind of experiment with a few cocktails with and really enjoyed it as well.
Nice.
So it sips well. It plays in cocktails well. I think it's a really nice that we were able to get this. Shout out to Meredith Olszewski and her husband, who I know lobbied like, what was it, like 4 or 5 years to get that here?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
This ended up coming out through Skurnik, which is where the Ninth Floor comes in. But I think that's like
Right.
a series of like special, usually cask releases that they do. But this is obviously not in a cask as an unaged rum, so it came out through there. And I know was widely available in Rochester and then in other markets. I think it's still on Curiata actually, if you want to grab a bottle. But I'm kind of surprised. I thought it sounds like this was not your pick, and I thought this might be an overlap for us because I knew that you had a bottle, and I knew that you really enjoyed this rum as well. And it was one that felt like, if not an obvious pick, an obvious candidate for sure.
100%. It is on my short list and or honorable mention runner-up list, and I really like it. And it's interesting as we transition to my pick that you mentioned that this category took you on a ride. I could not agree more. This was my toughest decision, I think.
Okay.
And probably going to be the most controversial.
Okay. Now
I
I'm
can
excited.
see it coming because I think when I say this one, there are going to be some people that are like, what? But I honestly feel like it deserves it.
All right.
And so I'm excited to talk about it and try to make my case why now. But I also understand I'm going to get some flack probably for this, considering, like you said, Will, how many phenomenally unaged rums there were out this year.
I feel like you're speaking the flack into existence right now.
Maybe I am. Maybe it's fine. Maybe
You're
people are like, you know what,
manifesting
you're right. No, I don't want to manifest flack. I am confident that this is my favorite unaged rum of the year.
That's all that
I also
matters.
have used it a good bit, so I feel really good about it. Like some rums, Will, we only get maybe a small sample of, or maybe you haven't had a lot of time with because they came out later in the year.
Yeah.
That can happen. This one I've had enough experience with to feel confident that I really like it and really want to see it succeed.
All right, out with it. Let's go.
All right, it is. My favorite unaged rum of this year is the Grander Cane Harvest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a 48% ABV Panamanian heavy rum that I'll try to describe it as like clean and yet flavorful. It's inviting. It's bright. It's a release that I have been waiting for someone to take a chance and do this for a while. A column still heavy rum from a Latin American or Spanish heritage origin. Those are poor descriptors, and we know that. But from one of the countries making rum like that in that style, where we usually only get the lighter or blend rums, and we don't get a heavy rum from them. This is 100% of that heavy rum made. It is a molasses-based rum. And I think that can sometimes be confusing because it is called cane harvest, right? And it does bring some nice kind of cane character on its fringes, I would say, for being a molasses-based rum. But really, it just comes down to it being well-made, affordable, and absolutely crushable, flavorful cocktails that I think is different as an experience than, say, like what we just mentioned with the Worthy Park. Also, a knockout, but different. I think that I've been calling for a rum like this to be on the market, and I felt like when it showed up and I loved it like I thought I would, I had to stand up for it and say, hey, this is worthy of people's time and attention and dollars. And then just the fact that it's one of the most drinkable white rums of the year.
I'm glad that you picked it because I think it's always good when people actually go with whatever their favorite is, right? Like you shouldn't put up a front and be like, oh no, it was the like more esoteric rum nerd approved high ester
Mm-hmm.
unaged release that I love
Mm-hmm.
the most. Um, and it's interesting because we had Dan on to talk about this rum specifically earlier in the year, and it's been a while since I've gone back to that rum. And part of the reason why I haven't returned to it as much is because I kind of struggled finding the right fit for it because for me the flavors that it brought to the table were not my favorite flavors in cocktail contexts for whatever reason. And so it kind of, I had a hefty sample of it enough to
Mm-hmm.
make cocktails with. And like I made
Mm-hmm.
some back then. And like it did some things nice because, like you said, it's not a flavor bomb. So it still can go into a lot of different cocktails, but it does bring flavor to it. And what it adds just didn't resonate with me as much.
I think to your point, it's like a next step up from some of the baseline stuff that most people are using to make a
Mm-hmm.
daiquiri or other stuff, but it's not extreme. And by extreme,
Mm-hmm.
I mean a lot of the products like, Savannah Her, right? Which I actually had as a runner up, but because I've had that bottle for a few years, I didn't pick it. Although I love that Savannah Her rum. I think it's great, and I think if you can get your hands on that bottle, you owe it to yourself to do so. But
Yeah.
I also didn't want to stump for it as much because I felt like, yes, I'm familiar with that bottle from a few years ago. And so this is where it ended up my pick. I'll also want to shout out the Rum et al. Products as a runner up for me. Tailspin and Dunderclap both really like them as well as the baseline. So that was really good. And then you already mentioned my other one, which is the Worthy Park ninth floor pick. So those were my
Yeah.
short list of rums for these. There were some others, and I had to cut them off just because we don't have time to talk about everything. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay with you saying that, Will. I still feel like what you just mentioned a little bit ago about recalibrating for the
Yeah.
Worthy Park. Maybe you need to recalibrate on this Grander
I,
too.
I might. I might. Hey, I'm not writing it off completely. Yeah, you mentioned some good ones there. I'll also throw in the Alembique de Cobre
Yes,
pot still release
really good.
that was done through Baytown in Rochester. Really, really cool rum from the fine folks at Alembique Serrano.
Agreed.
And the Showden from MOBA has
Yep.
also been getting a lot of love, a lot of super positive reactions. Definitely, probably the most intense rum of the year that I tried.
Mm-hmm.
So worth a mention as well. So yeah, just kind of a really bombastic category this year. There were just a lot of like absolute flavor bombs. You mentioned the Savannah Her as well, which I really considered just because, it's a whole new batch. It's been years since the last one came out,
Yeah,
so that was
but
in
it
the
is
running as
quite
well.
similar. I found because I still had
It
some
is
left
it
from
is
my
quite
old one.
similar.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is quite similar. Okay. Aged rum?
All
You're
right,
up,
I'm
buddy.
up. I'm up
Yeah.
first. Oh, okay. Well, so in this category, like we had mentioned that there's no longer an age denomination or anything like that with this. It's
Correct.
just your favorite aged rum of the year, and that makes it a little harder in certain ways, right? Because there's so many different ways you can go with this. And what ended up happening for me is I came back to an old tried and true standard with it. After trying a few different aged rums, it was hard for me to ignore this rum, and it is the Foursquare Equidem release.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Very good rum.
Yeah, this is a 14-year pot and column blend. Spent 5 years in ex bourbon, 9 years in ex black musket. Ex black musket. Say that 3 times fast. Bottled at 61%. It is dark and sort of almost unctuous in a good way. Structured, elegant. It has the signature Foursquare depth on it for me. But yet the Black Musket cask really brings some nice complexity that is slightly different, both overall and in the finish for me. It's probably the best ECS release I've had since Redoubtable, which was a few years ago. And because of that, I really felt like it was, like I said, hard to ignore that this was a great rum. And I know what people are going to say. I already know. There's been this trend recently, and maybe I would say the last 12 to 15 months, where especially rum hobbyists or enthusiasts kind of are like, I get it, I'm over it. Foursquare ECS is good.
I would
right?
say that's like the last three years. I'd go past 12 to 15
Okay.
months.
Well, I think it's pronounced. It's been
Sure.
a build, right, over the last few years. And I get why that's the case. I know the price has risen so much. They were so hyped that it maybe suffered from that overhype a little bit sometimes. And yeah, I would also say the ECS releases, despite some of the secondary maturations, aren't that different from one another for the most part. So I get the criticisms out there in terms of like why this might be, I don't want to use the word boring, but kind of plain as a pick of winner of the year. But again, well, it comes back to what I just said last category, and what you stated was it's it's my favorite. It's
Yeah.
really a really fucking good rum that when you wash out all the noise at the end of the day, like, because there's a lot of rums that come out and they're trying to do different things, and some are successful, maybe some aren't. This just stands at the peak for me. It's
Yeah.
just that good. So that's where I'm going. That's my favorite aged rum of this year.
Yeah. I already made a pre New Year's resolution, which is to no longer apologize or qualify for praising a Foursquare rum. I don't think we need to do it. I totally get the impulse because I've done it in the past, but
Yeah.
it's like you said, yeah, there's a lot of releases. I'm not going to repeat everything you said, but just tell me how many distilleries are consistently putting out cask strength, longer aged rums at that amount of age and that quality level as consistently as Foursquare. It's and that accessible, especially if you're in the US. Like, you can usually find these. They're limited, but usually if you make an effort, you can get your hands on it.
Agreed.
So I mean, what they do is really, really special. And so I just because it does get, I think there's fatigue because there's like a bourbon bro connotation with Foursquare, because a lot of the bourbon crowd coming into rum really love those rums and, post the pictures of going and buying 6 bottles or whatever. So I get the annoyances with it, but I'm just saying it's such a gem of the rum world. We don't need to be like, oh, I know it's kind of lame or not cool or whatever. Like, it is cool. It's not lame. It's awesome. So
No.
let's celebrate it.
Yeah. And it is impressive to me how Richard Seal can keep kind of plugging along and finding these different mild twists without sacrificing the identity of his rum in doing so. Right. So that should be the headline here, or the through line is he's consistently able to do these at a high level and execute them, but yet still pull some different things out. This is, 5 or 6 years later since I've tried my first Foursquare ECS, and to have a new experience that is familiar, comforting, and super good, that's hard to do.
First Black Muscat release for them, and I thought that release within the ECS line really stood out to me as well. So I enjoyed that. I bought a bottle and it's already gone. So always a good sign of a rum you enjoyed. Well, you were talking about slight twists on aging. I'm going to go with the maybe least slight twist on aging of the year, which was the Alambique Serrano Pico Canoa for my aged rum of the year. So this was a absolute, the only question for me was, is this my overall favorite rum of the year, or should it go in the aged favorite rum of the year category, or should it go in the blend category? Because this was part of the Vida Nativa series that they put out at the very beginning of the year. And this was, I think, the only Vida Nativa blend, if I'm remembering correctly. It's blend number 1. That number 1 is the only thing making me wonder, was there another blend that I'm forgetting about? But this was the watermelon candy rum. So, and it was a rum that had very distinct reactions from people. Some friends of the podcast hated this rum. Some friends of the podcast loved this rum. You and I both loved this rum, and it has endured as one of my favorite rums of the year. So it is a blend, as I mentioned, of Crassel still rum. So that's their kind of custom family built, the Crassel family still, and pot still rum. The Crassel rum was aged 25 months in new French oak and then 4 months in ex red wine cask. The pot still rum was aged 28 months in New French Oak and 3 months in ex-red wine cask. They blend those together, bottled at 57.7% ABV. And, it's not like you taste it and you're like, oh my God, red wine. But the flavors in it are so unique and so strong that it's like, it's hard not to make the connection between the casks that were used and the influence on this rum. Because like I was saying, that watermelon candy or strawberry candy, whatever you get, it's very strong. But I also found that this was a rum that the more time I spent with it, the more you realize the rum isn't that simple. There's a lot more complexity to it. There's these wonderful like cucumber kind of it's like I think I described this as like a trip to the spa, sort of, is how this rum feels to me. It's just so refreshing and delicious.
It's great.
And it mixes really well. It's a little on the expensive side, and like they only released 574 bottles of this, so it hurts me a little bit to mix it. Yeah. But it makes a fantastic rum Negroni. I would really recommend it in that context. It's delicious. So I love this rum, and like I'm about halfway through the bottle. Honestly, I could be all the way through it. The only reason I'm not is because I'm just going to be so sad when it's gone, because I don't know another rum like this one. So I'm hoping they're in the workshop there on Pico Canoa, return of the toucan or something. So that would be wonderful if they are. But yeah, that's my aged rum of the year.
Two can play that game.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Great pick. Yeah. It's obviously going to be somewhere for me. I'm just going to say that.
Well,
honorable mentions for you for this one?
Go ahead with yours if you have them.
Just the Down Island Hamden 2022 that you already mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah,
was one of mine for sure. I really actually enjoyed the Cherami that we liked a lot. The Anna's pick. Yes. That was a Casca pick for you. That one was really nice as well. So I just thought it was different, And to your point about Pico Canoa, you don't get that different very often. So that was a nice one as well. So that was it for me.
I don't want to spoil too many of my other picks because there are some more aged rums I enjoyed quite a bit coming. True. I will say that Cherami rum that you mentioned, the Cask Select Anna's rum, which was a blend of aged cane juice rum and unaged. It was sort of it was an alternate fermentation or a different yeast that they used for it that gave it this amazing banana characteristic. That was absolutely one of my favorite rums of the year. And honestly, like I enjoyed that one just as much as some of these others. I just don't have enough categories to fit it in. So
I get that.
But yeah, that one definitely deserves a shout out. Okay, on that note, we are going to blend next.
Yeah.
And I believe that I'm up first for this one. Yep. Oh, shit. Okay. So my pick for best blend of the year, this rum is part of a series that I think has become, it's not in the same league in terms of like people being tired of it as Foursquare, because I don't think people are tired of it, but I almost feel like we start to take it for granted a little and we forget how cool and special this series is. Okay. So my pick for this was the Black Tot Master Blenders Reserve 2025 rum. So I think this is at least the fifth Master Blenders Reserve release I think that they've done. But they've been at this for over 5 years now. They do one of these releases every year. It's always kind of a bespoke blend. And one of the really cool things about this blend now that they do is they have this perpetual blend component that makes up, in this release, it was 19% of it. And it's comprised of their own 50th anniversary blend, which is like a very special blend they did a few years ago. Right. And then the previous year's Master Blenders Reserve. So this 2025 had a little bit of 2024 in it. And then they still use a small 0.5% of the total blend of the original Royal Navy flagons. So this year's release from Black Tot, it was a Guyana heavy blend, which is just kind of always speaks to my heart a little bit. It was 40% of the blend was Guyana. It was, I believe, Port Morant and one of the column stills. I'm not entirely sure which one. comprise that blend. 24% Barbados, those were all Foursquare rums of various ages. Then 13% Jamaica, which was all 11-year Worthy Park. 5% Caroni. And yeah, the rest was that perpetual blend that I mentioned. But it's just, there's so much depth, and it's such a great balance of this like bright, fruity character component that you get from the Jamaica, and then that just richness from the Guyana and that Caroni that's in there as well. Because there's some old Guyana rums in there. I actually think 20% of the whole blend is a 21-year-old Guyana that's in there. So you really get that like perfumed, long-aged, amazing finish on the rum that comes from that balance with those brighter characteristics. So I've liked all the Master Blenders Reserve releases, and I'd be lying if I said like I put them all in a lineup and tried this one and this is the best one yet. So like I don't know where I rank it relative to the past years. I just know that among the blends that I tried this year, this one's so fucking good. And it's just, we talked to Oliver Chilton, the blender for Black Tot, and really got to learn just a lot more about his craft and approach and everything. I just think what they're doing is so cool. And the way that they publish all the components, and you can go on the website and see it, like, and the perpetual blend aspect of it that I think is really unique in the world of rum right now. I just don't know another, producer who's doing something quite like this. And I really love that we have this to look forward to every single year. And I think it's just kind of a special release every year, and have to shout this one out.
I think you're right to say that we're a little bit underestimating. Well, not what's the right word? Overlooking it. Right?
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's a little taken for granted.
Take it for granted, right?
Yeah,
yeah. And I don't think I've had this one this year, but I've tried some of the years past, and I agree with you. It's a phenomenal product. And I hope to try this one at some point.
Yeah, I got a sample of this one. The only thing that I hate about the Master Blenders Reserve is it's so hard for me to get a hold of it in my market, and it's never in the stores that like ship to Tennessee. So it's always been so hard for me to get access to these bottles. So I did get a hefty sample of this and got to spend, multiple sessions with it. But it's the kind of thing that if I were walking through a store and saw whatever the New Year's Master Blenders Reserve was, and I didn't have it, I would just buy it right away. I wouldn't even need to look at the reviews or anything. I'd just be like, yep, this is going to be worth my time.
Yeah. Quick story aside from my recent presentation on rum for the Nerd Night Miami gathering here, which was kind of fun. And I tried really hard to walk the fine line, because these are rum muggles, right? So people who don't know I'm assuming most people who are there are not there to specifically because of rum, right? They're just learning stuff. Yeah. So most of these people in the audience, you can safely assume, are not rum enthusiasts. So you're having to straddle this line of like, why is the rum category special, and how do you get that information across in a short amount of time without going too far into any one thing? And one of the things that I did was I started by talking about Black Tot Day, and then coming full circle at the end by saying, hey, by the way, if you're lucky enough to find a bottle of Last Consignment for, the low price of $1,000, you can actually try that rum. And then I was able to click through the slide and show them both the Finest Caribbean release as well as the Master Blenders Reserve stuff.
Nice.
So that, was kind of the clincher there of like, ooh, you can try a recreation almost, or, that right. might be putting it too much. But, and that worked really well. So I was proud to have proselytized a little on behalf of rum here in South Florida and let people know that there's cool stuff. All right. With that said, my favorite blend of the year, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because you already did, and you said pretty much everything I feel about it. And that is, I did pick the Pico Canoa as the favorite blend for this year. And when we say blend, I know we mentioned this a little bit, but by blend, we're meaning here that this could be a blend of multi-country, like you did, or it could be a blend of casks from the same distillery. Yeah. And in this case, that's what we have, right? We have that this is cane juice distilled on both the Crossel still and then aged in red wine in some or French oak and then red wine, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have some on the copper alembic pot still. That was also added. So this is a blend in that way. And I felt like that was a compelling blend in the sense of it just, like you said, it brought something that's delightfully refreshing and different And I know the watermelon Jolly Rancher note has been overemphasized,
Yeah.
really. It can be dominant, but to your point, I agree with you. When you sit with this rum and you really explore the space, as you might say, in Christopher Walken style, explore the space. You don't get a rum like this very often, and I was really pleased. It stood out for a reason this year, and that is because I think it is a really cool, fun, different kind of experience. So really happy with it. Quickly, honorable mentions for me. Raisin Glasses Full Circle. Very good blend. And another underrated because of the fact that they have so many of these rums that they put out high quality, that this Full Circle, there was the 110, which I really actually liked. And then there's the other Full Circle, I guess, foolproof or cask strength version, whatever it was. And both are very good. I think I might, believe it or not, gravitate towards the 110 of the two. I thought that was very good. Also, just a shout out to Hamden for the Maverick. Enjoyed it more than I thought it would. Is it probably too expensive? Yeah, but it's a nice blend, and they executed well on it, as well as the 1753. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, those are all really tasty. Yeah, the Maverick surprised me. I expected to immediately be like, absolutely not worth the money. I still agree it's a little too expensive, but I do think it's probably the best Hampton that I had all year. So that's always saying something, whatever the best Hampton you had was. And yeah, my other huge shout out is just the Cherami Anna's Cask Select. That one is just so good, so drinkable. If you can find a bottle of that, you might have to go to New Orleans to get it, but it's
worth the trip.
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I mean, who needs an excuse to go to New Orleans?
It's true.
Just take a trip, grab a bottle of Cherami Cask Select while you're there, and the other stuff is really good too. Okay, John, single cask, best single cask of the year. You are up first for this one.
All right. So my favorite single cask rum of this year, and by that I'm saying it was released in 2025. This one's there's gonna be some sparks on this one, Will. It's gonna be fun.
Oh no.
You already know what it is.
Oh no.
You search your heart, Will. You know what this is. And I've
been
been
the best
saying
single cask that you had this year.
I've been saying it for a while. I just poured it in my glass, Will, yesterday and again today. And I just have to say, you're fucking wrong about this one, man. You are. The winner of my favorite single cask rum this year is Rumming Road's Spain 17 year. It is nuanced. It's nice and refined. I think it brings slightly different characteristics than you usually have. So it has something there to it that I don't get that frequently, which for being an origin that I'm not familiar with, right? And then I know the wine malt cask influence there, a 17-year rum that I think is pulling off a nice balance of sweetness and other spice characteristics to it. I really like it. I think it's a phenomenal rum. I think Rumming Road did a great job bringing it out. And I think for whatever reason, there's some haters out there, you among them. But I don't understand why. It's a great rum.
So I will once again set the record straight and say I'm not a hater of this rum. I think it's fine. It is a just fine rum. When you start layering on, phenomenal, amazing, like bring something I don't find anywhere else. That's where I have to detach myself from the praise. I think it's fine for me, but to me it just tasted like garden variety light column still aged rum, basically.
Man.
And just didn't have like whatever special you're finding in there. I'm glad that you love it. And I know there are other people that like it a lot as well. So I'm not saying anything's bad about it. It's a rum that would never enter my mind for like favorite thing I had this year.
And I'm okay with that. But I will say it being from that ex Cotswold malt whiskey cask thing, just like a certain Mauritius cask that you really liked as well. There is some similarity there. It's not huge, but I pick up some of the notes. I tried them together, and I was like, yeah, I can kind of see how there's a commonality there. I don't know. Not to mention, when you blind tasted the rum, you really enjoyed it as well. So there's also that.
You guys to check the tape. I mean, again, like it's a fine, solid rum. I can find things to like about it, but there's nothing to separate it from a lot of other rums in my mind. So, the chief offense to me though is that you didn't even pick the best Roaming Road release this year, which is what I picked for my favorite single cask of the year.
All right.
Which was the Roaming Road Jamaica 12-year Worthy Park WPM mark. So the second Worthy Park, actually. The first was the WPE Cane Juice. This time we have a very different rum, aged 12 years, the medium ester WPM mark from Worthy Park, aged in ex-bourbon casks and bottled at, I believe, 64.1%. That's what's listed on the website. I don't have the bottle in front of me right now, but this was just one of those aged rums, single casks, that I just tasted it, and right away I was just like, God, this is fucking good. Just incredibly drinkable, incredibly delicious, complex, a lot of the hallmark Worthy Park flavors, but also just one of the best, if not the best, WPM cask that I've had in memory. I think it's approachable at the same time being complex and layered, amazing finish, evolving. You get the famous Worthy Park banana in there. It's just it's everything that I want in an aged Worthy Park rum. And I also thought I think it's listed at $109, so pretty decent value for what it is. But that, to me, when we first tried those, it was like, far and away, this is the standout from the Roaming Road releases for me. And yeah, it ended up being my favorite single cask all year.
Well, I can't knock you for that, because it is a really stunning release as well. So I get it. It made my short list also, because it's a really freaking good rum. And I didn't, to be fair, taste through like the whole Roaming Road releases prior to this again. But when I went back to the Spain, I just couldn't deny that it hits me in a place where I really like enjoying rum, especially as like a sessionable rum. The WPM, I like it a lot, and you could probably session that rum too.
Yeah.
So I guess we should just be saying, hey, good fucking job to Mike Gilmore.
Yeah.
Because those are very good, both of them.
Absolutely.
Couple of quick honorable mentions for me. The Holmes Key Saw, South Africa whiskey cask, very good. And also a different PM, Spinnaker's Port Morant. I just got into these, so I don't want to put something out there that I'm not familiar enough with. It just came pretty recently, but I really am enjoying. It's probably my favorite Port Morant that I think I've had.
Wow.
Or close to it, I would at least say. I thought it was a good standout from their new releases as well.
Yeah, that's a new independent bottler. John mentioned Spinnaker's. I know we received samples of their first 4 releases quite recently. I ended up not really considering them just because I haven't tasted all of them yet, so I haven't had the PM yet.
Yeah.
And it's so late in the year, but they'll be under consideration for 2026.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm looking forward to trying this, especially that PM. Now that you said best PM you've ever had, that's high praise.
It does deserve high praise. I don't want to go that far just yet.
But you're walking it back?
Well, I'm only walking it back from the sense that, we've talked about this many times. I've had 1.5 times with it. The first, real quick, like poop shoop, and like, ooh, that's really good. And then sitting with it once and like confirming, yeah, that's really good. But it's been a while since I've been back to my other Port Morant bottles in my collection. So I don't want to say that just yet.
Yeah, there were some good. You mentioned Holmes Key. The ones that stood out to me, I really enjoyed, actually, surprisingly, because I had not enjoyed. I think this is maybe why I was so impressed with it, because previously I had never found a Trinidad tin cane release.
Yeah,
that I thought was really worth what people were charging for it, or like all that interesting at all. And the one that they released this year. And they'd done tin cane releases before that I wasn't a fan of. And this one I thought was really, really good. So I was really impressed. I was like, finally, a tin cane for me. That really stood out to me. But we're moving on. We've got Am I the Asshole next. Everyone's favorite category. Did I time this so I have to go first for this one?
You do. Well done.
Can I go back to the coin toss and make you go first for this one?
Let's do it. Let's run it all back. Yeah.
No, I meant not do a new coin toss, just like because I won the coin toss. Can I make you go first?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So for my Am I the Asshole pick, for me, this is a rum that I found pretty confusing because there was another highly similar rum to this one released. And I really was not a big fan of one of them. And the other one I thought was quite impressive. And I've heard many people say that these releases are pretty similar. And while I will acknowledge that there are clear similarities because it's very similar distillate, to me, when I taste them side by side, I'm like, one of these is much, much better than the other one.
Wow.
And
We might be the asshole together here because you're describing my exact one.
we can't do it 2 years in a row. Okay. I am talking about the Habitation Velier MOBA release.
Yep. I'll
You
share my
too?
screen with you of what I have printed right here that I wrote a few days ago. Yep.
So the other release that I'm saying is a similar release is the MOBA, the Sheldon release. So
Yep.
this was both of these releases are a blend of unaged rums, 2 different fermentations. The primary one is a 28-day wild fermentation, fresh cane juice, and dunder from previous distillations. And then the other part of the blend goes through a 14-day fermentation. So it's a little bit different, but all like wild open air fermentation. We talked to Robert Greaves and Sheldon Engelbrecht, the eponymous Sheldon behind the Sheldon, about this process for creating this rum and the journey. And Eric Kay from Holmes Key, who was part of bringing the MOBA bottled release to the U.S. of the Sheldon. We did the whole backstory behind this rum. So check out our episode with MOBA from earlier in the year if you haven't yet. But I think it was in a bonus episode, John, that we tasted this for the first time at the Habitation one. We didn't do the Sheldon on the show, but it was this incredibly thick, dense
Dense is the right word.
Yeah, dense rum, both on the nose and the palate. And that can be a good thing, right? Like, oh, dense, flavorful, like thick and rich, right? But it was the flavors that it brought. There's these kind of gluey, solventy, cementy kind of
Cement is a good note.
notes for that bottle that are just so overwhelming for me that it really impeded my enjoyment. Because I knew I was tasting something that was like, wow, this is distinct and different, but I wasn't loving the ways in which it was different from a flavor standpoint. And so I went into trying the Sheldon, MOBA's bottling, with a little trepidation because I knew it's the same process, right? It's the same blend essentially. I'm assuming it's different batches. I don't know off the top of my head if that's the case or not, but whatever it is, I mean, I think they're different ABVs, but if you try them together, for me, the Sheldon is so much brighter. It's got this
almost like cleaner, right?
Yeah, it's cleaner. It's got this tartness, those more industrial, gluey, solventy type notes I don't get as much. So yeah, it just left me puzzled because again, I've talked to other people who feel like there isn't that extreme of a difference between the two rums, but for me, it's extreme to the point where I like one and don't really like the other, which is also surprising just because for my own personal taste, like Habitation Velier has such a strong track record, right? I almost always at least think, I'm not saying every rum they release is my favorite, but it's usually like, oh yeah, another really good Habitation Velier bottling, But this one is maybe the first I've ever had that just did not agree with my personal taste. So am I the asshole? Maybe so. Are you the asshole? Maybe so.
We're once again the assholes together because this was my winner for the category that I just couldn't get behind it. I'm not going to say all the same stuff you did. I'll only say like even the nose is almost like if you pour out a bag of powder concrete and then you know how it comes at you?
Yeah.
That's what I get from this. And I'm just like left kind of gasping with it and not able to really enjoy it. Whereas to your point, we had a measuring stick to go against this time with the Sheldon, and it feels like it's a clear favorite to me. So I'm a little confused by this one as well. Also, I really didn't enjoy the Renegade either in the same series.
It wasn't
the
the biggest fan of
Habitation.
that.
So the Savannah Her we both mentioned was very, very good, but those two kind of missed the mark for me.
The PM Spirits Prestige LeDroit blend was also good.
Yes,
I did enjoy that.
That was very
one.
good.
Yeah.
But so I guess it's there. I'll give you my alternate for this one very quickly. We won't talk long about it, but I'm having trouble with the Renaissance rums still. Which not a lot of people. I mean, it's pretty universally praised. So I feel pretty strongly that I must be the asshole here. But the Clouded Leopard, I tried and I just still get really acidic baby vomit notes from it that I just haven't been my vibe yet. And then the other one you probably will remember, the Orizinho 6-year Madeira, just haven't been able to get there with it. It's I don't know, it's a little too dry for me. So those are the ones that I found to be tough this year.
Yeah, this was pretty clearly the one that fit the category the best for me. There were other rums that I was a little lower on. The Colors of Rum, DOK, Oloroso Sherry comes to mind. Actually, I feel like a few years back I tried a DOK that was short age, maybe a couple of years in New American Oak, and I was kind of I think this approach might be really great for intense rums like DOK, where it's this super heavy cask influence that punches back at it. And I think the Oloroso Sherry Colors of Rum DOK is kind of a similar style. And I think, I don't know if it's just my palate now or just being exposed to more rums, but for whatever reason, that approach doesn't resonate as much with me now. And I think part of the reason for it is because I was able to try the Bristol DOK 2009, bottled at I think 47% ABV, which was just a DOK revelation for me, which I know a lot of people will maybe be you're crazy. The high octane cask strength DOKs are the best, but that was my favorite aged DOK experience I've had. Just it brought out the nuances of it a little more, whereas I feel like these younger aged DOKs with the heavy cask influence, it's just more it's these loud flavors all hitting each other, and they do kind of come together, but the whole doesn't feel greater than the sum of the parts.
It's it's radioactive somehow, right?
Yeah, it's just it's almost like the heavy cask influence dumbs it down a little bit. You still have this super crazy, fruity, tart, sour DOK punching you in the face, but I don't know. It didn't come together for me, and I know several listeners I talked to that really love that rum. So, but ultimately, I get it. I get why people like it. It's just I wasn't as high on it as others. But the Habitation MOBA was the clear one for me, where I was just I just don't get this.
It's always interesting to see how people can react differently to things. We talked earlier about how sometimes it's a product of your environment, in the sense of what kind of experience was it for you? What had you eaten that day? What could, how long had it rested? There's so many variables there. But I've been back to that one a couple of times, at least 3.
Yeah.
It was a small sample, but I a small amount is enough. At least 3 times where I was just no, this isn't one for me.
Yeah.
So I get it. All right, that brings us to the big category, right?
Overall, Rum of the Year, Best Picture. John, what do you got? You're up first.
And the nominees are... no, we won't do nominees, but there's one conspicuous absence right now for me that I'm sure that you've picked up on, or maybe you've picked up on, and I've actually picked up on that it's been conspicuous for you too. So I'm wondering if these last 2 categories we may have synced up.
The best and the worst we synced up
on. This was the rum for me that encapsulated the year. Every time I went back to it, I kind of loved it even more, even though I loved it from the get-go. This is a release that I think they knocked it out of the park in every way, and I can't say too much more without giving it away, so I'm going to go ahead and just say what it is. It is the Papaline 5-year high ester rum. I am very, very
one right
happy.
here?
Yes, that one. very, very happy to have sourced a bottle of this, and I'll let you talk a little bit more of the boilerplate. It sounds like, since you're pulling it out for your video there in your picture.
What makes you think that
You
that
had
I
it
have the
sitting
specs in
right
front of
next
me?
to you. I'm guessing that this might be yours. But I will say it's a young enough rum that it sings a beautiful melody against the backdrop chorus of the aging that is there, only 5 years, with the high esters that kind of perfectly in tune and balance with each of the elements there. The finish is so long and inviting. It begs you to take another sip and go for a ride all over again. I wrote, Will, it's like if you've ever been to a theme park when you were young and you somehow scored unlimited rides, right, at this theme park or like a fair,
Yeah.
and you try a bunch of these rides and then you find your favorite, and then you and your friends for the rest of the night ride that ride 10 or 20 times in a row. I feel like that's an experience that some people have, and I did, and this is what this feels like. It feels like I just want to go back to it. I just want to keep going back, and I want to keep riding this ride, and it hasn't let me down. It hasn't given me any less pleasure, even though I'm through most of the bottle at this point. So I can't sing its praises enough. It's exactly what I want from a Jamaican high ester rum.
Your analogy there, it's sounding like when I was 17 and rode the Gravitron 4 times at
Yes.
the fair over in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Yeah.
And by the end of doing it 4 times, I felt like I was going to puke, and I never wanted to do it again. That is the difference between that and this rum,
I
which
mean,
I
if
do
you
want to
did
keep
that
drinking.
enough, you drank enough, you would
true.
puke as
That's
also.
true.
But, yeah.
So
I think I'll let you go, but I think it redefined what a lightly aged rum can be, and that's an absolute home run. And it's affordable.
yeah, about a little over $60 in most places that I've seen. I'll suspend the suspense and just say this was my overall rum of the year pick as well, which is really funny because I knew, I was 99% sure that this rum would make an appearance on both of our lists.
Right.
I didn't think that you would have it for overall rum. I thought maybe this would be your blend of the year.
Yep. Was in the running for it.
Because it's a blend of 3 Jamaican rums. So we have some Worthy Park WPL, which are now realizing that my list now has a WPE, a WPM, and something with WPL in it, which is
I wonder what your distillery of the year is.
Yeah, that's a question worth asking. So Worthy Park WPL, Long Pond STCE, and then Hampton C Diamond H. That being the highest ester component. STCE is kind of in the mid high ester range, with WPL being the lowest. Aged 5 years at origin in Jamaica, and bottled at 57%. And like I was saying, about $60. And for me, just even price aside, just on the merits, this is such a delicious rum. Like you said, for a 5-year-old rum at this price range, the complexity, I feel that I can taste all 3 of those distilleries in here, but not in a way to where they're not coming together and creating something singular. They're doing that too, but you can also, it's kind of like a perfectly mixed song where it's like every instrument kind of has its own space in the mix and is just at the right level, but they're all coming together and just creating this balance. And that's what this has. And it has a great finish for a 5-year-old rum for $60 or whatever. And ultimately, like I said, there were several rums I could have moved around into this category, but I ultimately chose this one because I feel, John, this is the exact type of rum that I wish we had more of, which is a really flavorful, high quality rum that's under $70. And I kind of put, like, even though they're very different rums, I mentioned it earlier, but I kind of put Dourly's 14 in this category as well, where that's a 48%. This is 57%. So again, a little different, but that is a very flavorful rum, and it's at a more accessible price point to where I feel like a lot of times we're caught between recommend something that's really inexpensive but lacking in flavor, or recommend something that is like expensive and cask strength and maybe a little too advanced for people.
I get that.
And I feel like these rums are kind of in that sweet spot where it's really accessible. I know, like, this is a limited release. There were like it's a blend of 63 barrels, so that should be a decent amount of bottles. but I don't know if this is going to become like something they do all the time. I don't know what like that stock looks like if they have the next batch waiting. I'm hoping that they keep putting this out, because for me, this is far and away the best Papaline release that they've ever done.
Agreed.
And I would love for batches of this to always be available, and maybe it's a chance to do different blends and things like that as well. Although like I feel like this blend is so good, I'd be a little if I could just freeze it and it's always this blend, I would just freeze it there. Like, let's stop. You got the perfect one.
Push the stop button. You're good.
But I just I think I want to acknowledge, I think it's hard to put out rums that are this good at this price range. Like, I think there's a reason why we don't see more of them.
People would certainly do it if it was easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they would. Maybe it's just not quite as profitable. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So, but I just would love for there to be more rums like this in the market. I feel like it's a little bit of a blind spot in rum right now. And I'd love to see more of them. So, yeah. Well, we synced up twice. I'm curious to see. We have 2 more categories: bottler and distillery of the year. And I'm first, I guess, for bottler of the year. Anything else to add, though, before we move on?
Yeah, I was going to say, just quickly, I was going to ask you the same if you had any kind of others. You said sometimes you switch categories around, like you have rums that need to place somewhere. And I agree with you. I did look at some other categories for this, but I just kept coming back to how fucking good it is and couldn't help but put it in best overall. The Pico Canoa was in high contention here, as well as the Cañamazo. I've really come to like that Cañamazo release a lot.
Yeah.
And so because I couldn't really choose which one, I ended up pushing the Pico Canoa somewhere else. And the Cañamazo kind of got left off, and I'm a little sad about that. But it is a really, really good rum. It is a winter rum, in my mind. It's got all of that you want. So that, and then the last one, like you had said earlier, it's so hard when you get a rum at the last minute. And I know I've done this before, but I chose not to do it this year. That I really like this Guyana new Holmes Key release, the Iflod 21 year. It's an incredible example of an aged Demerara. We've had some good ones this year. If I had not tasted that Enmore, maybe I might have really considered this, because it's a really good release, and it takes a significant step up from the 18 year that they had previously to me. So if you're considering that rum, it is a really, really good rum.
Yeah, I think
Any for you?
I think maybe we'll talk about that rum a little bit more, maybe in a bonus episode soon.
Yeah.
Because I have a sample as well. And I've done an initial tasting, but I want to do a second one.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it really came down to this or Pico Canoa. I knew one of those was going to be my rum of the year. I will say I did honestly give some consideration to Jeremy, that Cask Select Anna's rum, because I just really, really love that rum. And I feel bad that like it was under consideration for my overall favorite and it didn't end up fitting into a category.
Same thing as the Cañamazo for me. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can highlight it a little bit here and give it some shine. All right, bottler.
All right, is it me or you?
I believe that I am up first this time.
Yeah.
So bottler of the year, one caveat I will give is that I think as Americans, we don't have quite as much access to all of the wonderful European IBs that are out there. I don't want to speak for you, John, but I know that what I'm just able to try throughout the year skews toward the American IBs. And we are getting a little bit more, like we're getting some colors of rum. We're getting some Bristol stuff here now that we weren't getting in the past. But I know there's, like Ricci and like all these like amazing bottlers over there that we just don't see, Tomosi and stuff like that. I'd love to be able to try more of those, but just know that like I didn't have any of those rums, so those are obviously I can't put those under consideration. So I will say, when I looked around, there was a bottler I saw that did a lot of it's interesting because I didn't pick them for any of the superlative categories so far, but I thought they did a lot of really cool stuff and a lot of varied stuff, and my bottler of the year ended up being Holmes Key, actually.
Wow. Okay.
I was really impressed with the Reunion Traditionnel that you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Kind of brought back as something that can be that component of a Mai Tai to go alongside next to the Jamaican component. It works amazingly well in that. I think it works well in a lot of other cocktails. Honestly, it's pretty good on its own neat as well. They also bringing over some of the MOBA stuff that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They have their own Homeski bottled stuff. I know there were some strong reactions to the peated MOBA. I still maintain I think that's a good rum. I think it's probably the best peated rum that I've had, and I don't mean that in being like, the best of the worst. I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a quality rum. And then the non-peated aged one that they did as well, I thought was really good. The Trinidad rum I mentioned earlier, the tin cane one, the 2012, really, really lovely rum. The 2018 Versailles rum they did, which we haven't talked about yet, but I thought was just a great example of like a younger aged rum released at cask strength, but for a really good value. I think it was like $80. And I thought kind of showed a really nice other side of the Versailles still. Really great comparison tasting if you want to do that with the Rumcast Reserve VSG, by the way, just to get one more plug in there. But yeah, I thought Homeski had like a really wide breadth of stuff that they did this year, from the more cocktail centric to the cask strength stuff to the stuff that's somewhere in between. So I was just overall like really impressed. It's a brand that's, they're kind of like the veterans of the American IB market right now,
kind of the flag holders, right?
So it's like another one that I think it gets easy to take it for granted, right? So I really appreciate that they're still doing all this different stuff, trying new things and bringing out cool shit.
Flag holders. I meant standard bearers was what I was looking for. I've had
flag holders.
As we've gone through, I've been drinking all of my favorite rums, and I'm definitely a great pick. Obviously, everybody knows I'm kind of a Homeski fanboy and sing their praises a lot. So I will just go to my pick, echoing all of the sentiments that you had. I do think they had a great year, especially after what I thought was a slight down year for them last year. So nice to see that they are sticking it out and doing great things still. For my independent bottler of the year, I don't think this will be a surprise. I went with Roaming Road.
Yeah.
I think their Spain 17-year release was great, as we've talked about. But, as you talked about, their Worthy Park medium that they had, also great. I have the Belize 18 in my glass right now. Also great.
That was good.
Their Thailand is very good. The Mauritius was very good. And hell, I'll even give you that their Dominican release was pretty good.
I like that
my
Dominican
least
release,
favorite.
yeah.
You liked it more than I did.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've tasted a Dominican independent bottler that I like as much as that one.
It's better than the Spain.
Yeah. Well, what? No.
Too late. You said because you weren't actually listening to what I was saying.
Run that back. I meant, you're wrong is what I meant. But yeah, so I mean, just a stunning 6 bottles, I think it is, that they released. And, the fact that this is his second wave.
Yeah.
And the first wave was pretty fucking good too.
Yeah.
And I think I remember saying to you, Will, that if the second wave is as good as their first wave, that is the trick, the key to me to like, okay, anybody can maybe do it once, like a one-hit wonder, right? Yeah. Any person can maybe put out a few bottles and be really good at it because you've taken your time with it. But to follow up that initial wave of releases with this second release wave of 6 really good rums in a short amount of time, right? Less than a year-ish apart, or roughly a year-ish apart. That to me says, hey, this is a contender now. This is a person who is doing great things for the U.S. market for rum releases and giving us great rum. So just absolute kudos to Mike Gilmore and everybody that's making Roaming Road do what they're due, because I just want you to keep doing it. So thank you for that. Quick honorable mention. Everybody knows Raising Glasses has been doing such good things in the space. And I would almost call them like fearless, right? John and Lori Shu are like what I'd say fearless in the sense that they take on all of these other projects as distributors in addition to their own rums that they release. And some of these are even what I might call experiments or experimentations, but they do so with such a zeal and a vigor to put these things out into the market and get them out to people that you can't help but love them for it. And an honest goodness, thank you to them for doing what they do in so many different ways in the rum space. So although they're my runner-up for this time, I want to give them a huge shout out and a thank you.
Yeah, they were my pick last year for many of the reasons that you just put out there. So they definitely continued that in 2025 for sure.
Yeah.
Including, taking a risk on our own harebrained idea as well. So, all right, only one thing left to do: Distillery of the Year, and you're first this time, John.
So this is probably going to surprise you, Will, because it surprised me.
Okay.
I really wasn't like let me back up a step. Usually when I look at a category, I start to immediately form some ideas in my head of who I think belongs here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a rum or whatever it might be. And this one only came to me after I really put all the evidence together and said, like, what was released this year? And who do I think really represented the year for me in a way that I think stood out?
Yeah.
And although you can give that to different people, I was surprised to see this year that I'm a Worthy Park guy, Will. You know this.
I know this. Yeah.
I'm a Worthy Park guy. And they had some pretty damn good releases, didn't they?
Yeah. I was just talking about it.
The Ninth Floor and the Worthy Park Medium and a lot of those. But you know who else had some really good releases this year?
Who's that?
Hamden Distillery had some really freaking good releases this year. To the point that when I started looking, I was like, fuck, that was good. Fuck, that was good. Oh, that was good. And it's not a surprise that it's good, right? So it's not like, ooh, look at all these great things. Like, kind of like when we talked about Alambique Serrano as our Distillery of the Year. I can't remember if it was both of us had picked it or one of us.
Yeah, it was last year.
It felt like a little bit of a surprise, like it came out of nowhere in a weird way. And I don't mean to disparage them by saying that. I hope that doesn't sound that way, but it just
they were new.
Yeah, it hit us with a huge impact. Hamden's been around for a while. We know that they make good shit.
Yeah.
Right? But man, did they put out some good bottles this year. We've already talked about a lot of them, but just to quickly go through, the 1753 is great. The Maverick is great. The Down Island 2022 is great. The PM Spirits Prestige blend was great. Spinnaker rum, I know you haven't gotten to them much yet, but they have an HLCF that is very good, right? And again, only 1.5 into it, but I like what I'm getting from it. And probably a few others that I'm actually forgetting about right now that I think Hamden Distillery is just such a freaking tour de force for rum, and they deserve it this year. They probably deserve it most years, to be frank, like with what they do for rum. But they really deserve it this year. They are my Distillery of the Year.
I also loved all those releases. The only thing that made me wince slightly was I still haven't recovered from the pricing of the 1753, which continues to make no sense to me. I would love for that pricing to make more sense. But I will not deny that the liquid in the bottle itself is delicious and really good. I just wish it was a little more accessible.
Yeah. And another kind of, maybe I didn't even think of this till right now, but obviously the hurricane had a huge impact on them, had an impact on all of Jamaica, and we know on many distilleries. But I know Hamden was shut down for at least a few weeks, I think it was, because of that. I think if there was ever a time for rum geeks like us to push and support them, it's now.
Yeah.
And let's keep them going, because they are an amazing thing that we have that we need to make sure we protect.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes again to the American Friends of Jamaica Relief Fund, specifically for Trelawney Parish, where Hampton is. There's a specific fund for that. If you do want to donate, that's where we chose to donate the 5% of Rumcast Reserve profits to that fund. So, definitely like. I think it's a good reminder to bring that up, like, just because it feels like it happened a long time ago now, like, there's still a lot of need there and a lot of, ways to go in the recovery. So, for sure. Yeah, I like Hampton, there's probably not been a year in the last, since we started doing this podcast, that you couldn't make an argument that they're Distillery of the Year, So
I agree.
I totally get it. Okay, are we ready for my pick?
Take us home, Will.
Okay, so I ended up being kind of surprised at my pick, but then when I laid out all of the evidence, I was like, actually, this isn't surprising at all. The amount of...
It sounds like you said what I just fucking said. Did we do the same thing?
No, it's not. It's not Hampton. But the sheer amount of impressive releases and varied releases from this distillery this year were just overwhelming enough for me to make it 2 years in a row for Alembique
What?
Serrano and the
Wow.
Crassel family.
Okay.
Hear me out. Okay, because last year we both picked this, and I think a big part of the reason was just how overwhelmed we were with Cartier 30.
Yes.
And it was kind of the first year that like a bunch of their releases really hit the rum scene. And they did some spectacular releases last year in 2024. Somehow in 2025, they topped it. And I think we forget a little. I mean, we don't forget because we both had Pico Canoa in our, in one of our categories. You mentioned Canyamazo, which I also brought because it was another one of my favorite rums of the year. Absolutely delicious. Completely different from Pico Canoa, by the way. But so
Alembique de Cobre.
Exactly. So they kick off the year with these incredible Vida Nativa series rums. They've got blends, they've got single casks, and some of them were better than others. These two were amazing. The Venado Temazate was another one I picked up that I wasn't quite as fond of, but the series as a whole I thought was just stellar and created just a lot of excitement in the rum world. It was really cool and fun to experience those and taste them with different rum enthusiasts and talk about which ones were your favorites. Then they go ahead, they release new batches of Cartier 30. They release the Alembique de Cobre, which is kind of like the pot still version of Cartier 30. They release Altos Esteres as well, which I need to mention in my notable rums I didn't try. I still have not managed to try Altos Esteres. But even without having tried that, I've tried enough from them. They bring out the Tres Años blend as well, which is more of like an entry-level blend. And now they're ending the year by doing all these Tres Años single casks as well. It's like these guys are never sleeping, It's amazing what they're churning out. And they're still a new distillery, right? I mean, they've been around for a long time, but I mean, they're new on the U.S. market. The age stuff they're doing is relatively new for them, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's just it's still so impressive to me, and just the variety and everything. I once I assembled all of the evidence, I was like, there's nothing I can do. This is out of my hands at this point. Like I have to select them as my favorite distillery of the year.
They forced your hand.
They forced my hand. It's the first time. Well, actually, I think last year might have been our first time doing a distillery of the year category. So I was going to say it's my first time doing back to back, but it's my first opportunity to do it. So who knows? Let's see 2026. In order for it to be a three-peat, they'd have to really do some crazy stuff to top 2025, but I wouldn't put it past them at this point.
Yeah. I can't deny exactly what you just said. The logic is there. Obviously, they made huge splashes again this year, so none of what you said doesn't resonate with me. It feels right. It also feels weird, right? Usually I avoid trying to do something 2 years in a row, but I get your logic. Like, I get that they took what they did last year and they stepped on that even more, and so it's kind of hard to ignore that. So I'm with you there.
Like the great Andre 3000 said, I'm just being honest. So that's all I can do. But I think we can agree 2025, another great year to be a rum enthusiast. Lots of amazing releases. Even more we weren't able to talk about. I'm sure we'll be kicking ourselves for forgetting to mention, but a great year for rum. I can't wait for 2026 to see what that holds. Like you said, same. I gotta get downstairs. I gotta try these Spinnaker rums, another new American IB. So lots of cool stuff coming. But I don't know. Anything else to add?
Only really quickly, if there's notable rums that we didn't try this year, because sometimes I think we've had feedback where people go, hey, you never even mentioned this amazing rum. And, well, it's hard for us to mention it if we haven't tried it yet, right?
Yeah.
So, and usually we sync up on that, but not always. I have not tried the Mount Gay Single Estate series, the new stuff.
I have not either.
Hamden Great House 2025, which I haven't even tried that, and I've heard from a lot of people it's their favorite of the series, of the Great House series. And if that's the case, that even backs up even further my distillery of the year. The El Dorado Port Morant DHE. Haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
Heard it's better for some people than the LBI.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you?
Yeah, I have not tried. I'm trying to remember now if I tried Hampton Great House or not. I don't think I have yet.
Yeah.
The two that I wrote down for me, I actually didn't even think of the Mount K Single Estate, but yeah, I haven't tried any of those, even dating back to like the original release. But the two that came to mind where I was like, man, I'm really annoyed that I didn't get a chance to try these rums were the Alambique Altos Esteres, which is another unaged, like kind of their approach to a high ester rum, and the El Dorado high ester. So it's high esters all the way down.
Not
John.
a high ester year.
The PM/DHE.
Yeah.
I don't. What is this the year of like everyone trying to like label their rum as high ester?
I mean, it makes sense.
We had the Jamaica high ester on the label. You have the El Dorado. I mean, I know their first one in that series came out last year. We've got the Altos Esteres. I know it's not on the label, but like, the Sheldon is like high ester is like a very big part of the production process and the marketing of the release and everything. So
yeah, and you mentioned that we don't always get access to some independent bottlers stuff.
Yeah.
One that I've just had a complete blind spot with is Bedford Park. It seems like they are pushing out a ton of interesting and good stuff that I'm seeing people talk about. I haven't had to try any of them. I know the Pinball rum was made a big splash. Didn't get to try that one. Right, the Foursquare. Thank you. And there's a few others that I'm seeing that I'm like, man, I really wish I could get my hands on those. Yeah. So back up the point that you already made. It's just sometimes it's difficult for us to get everything. So.
Yeah, we try what we can, which is why we make a point to remind everyone that these are our favorite things we tried. We're not proclaiming these to be the best rums of the year.
Exactly.
We did not try all the rums of the year, so how could we say that? But these are our favorites of the ones that we tried. All right, John. Well, this is going to be it for 2025. So the next time everyone hears from us, it'll be a new year. We'll be kicking it off. We've got some fun plans for the show in 2026, and I'm excited to see where it takes us. But thank you to all the listeners, everyone who took the ride with us in 2025, or if you started listening for the first time, that's awesome. We're looking forward to having you back next year and doing it all over again with some new stuff planned as well. So a lot to look forward to.
If you want to talk more rum with us, where do they get us, Will?
Oh, well, you can always reach us via email, the old-fashioned way, as I like to call it. You can email us at host@rumcast.com. That's HOST@rumcast.com. You can do it the new way if you want, which is social media. John, where can they find us on social media?
At the Rumcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and we will continue to post there. By the way, Will, we just sold out online of our Guyana VSG.
That's right.
I heard someone told me that there is more coming, thankfully, so don't fret just yet.
We've got a handful of cases left.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be restocked.
Yes. And the Mauritius is actually on its way.
Yeah.
So you can still get that right now if you're checking this out in the next couple of days. And if it's beyond that, hopefully they're still available to purchase when you go look.
All right. Well, thanks again to everyone for listening, and we will see you in 2026. But until then, enjoy the holiday season, enjoy the New Year's, and have a nice glass of rum.
Yeah.
Also, let us know what your favorite rums of the year were.
Exactly.
Let us know which ones you completely can't see why those would ever be our favorite rums of the year. Let us know if we're the assholes about the Habitation Bellier MOBA. We'd love to hear that. But yeah, until next time, we'll see you all in 2026. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.